The sky over Earth was unlike anything it had been in centuries. Satellites and space stations floated like silent sentinels, their metal gleaming under the pale sun. Humanity had advanced far beyond what anyone had imagined just 100 years ago. Cities touched the clouds, spaceports hummed with energy, and machines could do the work of thousands. Yet for all their achievements, humans were at a crossroads. Earth's resources were strained, nations were fractured, and the planet itself was groaning under the weight of decades of neglect. Every step forward seemed to be met with a step back. Humanity's inventions were brilliant, but their conflicts were endless. Wars over resources, disputes over borders, and the endless competition for power had left scars that could not heal. In the quiet of a command center orbiting Earth, a team of scientists and diplomats worked tirelessly. Their faces were tense, eyes fixed on screens that displayed data from across the solar system. The team had gathered not just technology and knowledge, but a plan that seemed almost desperate in its audacity. Humanity would reach out to the stars, not just for exploration, but for help. Dr. Liana Reyes, a leading astrophysicist, adjusted her headset. "This is it," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Everything we've built is ready. The signal is ready to send." Around her, engineers checked calculations, confirming every variable. Communications specialists ensured the message could travel through the vast void of space without distortion. And diplomats made final edits to the message itself, carefully balancing urgency with humility. Humanity could not afford to appear weak, but it could not afford to be prideful either. The message was unlike any humanity had sent before. It was not just words or numbers. It carried images of human history, art, music, and moments of courage and compassion. It included not only the achievements but also the failures, honestly showing both the potential and the flaws of their species. The hope was simple. If there were beings capable of helping, they would see the value of humanity and respond. "Signal ready," said a young communications officer, her voice trembling with excitement. "We're sending it now." On Earth, people stopped what they were doing. In homes, schools, and offices, screens lit up with the words, "We are reaching out. We need guidance. We wish to survive and grow. We are ready to learn from those who are greater than us." The transmission carried not just the message, but a carefully encoded energy pattern meant to resonate with intelligent life forms. It would travel light years, crossing the empty void between stars. Humanity did not know who would respond or if anyone would, but hope was a powerful thing. As the message left Earth, a hush fell over the command center. Every person felt a mix of fear and anticipation. Some whispered prayers. Others stared at the stars as if trying to see beyond them, hoping for an answer. Dr. Reyes's hand hovered over the console. She pressed a small button to log the moment in history. "May they hear us," she whispered. Far beyond the solar system, light years away, the transmission finally reached a cluster of systems that few humans had ever imagined. Among these systems lived the Zerithians, a species that had long been feared across the galaxy. Stories of their power had passed through countless civilizations. They were known as strategists, warriors, and thinkers whose very presence commanded respect. Their ships could travel faster than light. Their armies could conquer worlds in months, and their decisions often meant life or death for entire species. But the Zerithians were also observers. For millennia, they had watched civilizations rise and fall, rarely intervening. They believed in the natural order of the galaxy. Weak species faded, strong species thrived. Yet something about the human transmission made even the Zerithian leaders pause. In a massive hall aboard a Zerithian flagship, the council convened. Its members were unlike anything human eyes could easily comprehend. Tall, imposing figures with eyes that seemed to see not just the present, but possibilities far into the future. Holograms of the human message floated in the center of the room. The council's leader, known as Velithar, extended a clawed hand, tracing patterns over the light of the projection. "They reach out," Velithar said, voice deep and resonant. "They show their courage, their failures, and their potential. Most species would hide weakness. Most would only show strength. Yet they have bared both. Why?" Another council member, Tarek, spoke. "Curiosity, perhaps. Or desperation. The signal carries fear, yes, but also hope. We have seen fear before. It is common. Hope is rare." Velithar's gaze lingered on the images of humans. Children laughing, scientists working, artists painting, leaders arguing, soldiers risking their lives. It was messy, imperfect, and alive. Something stirred within the Zerithian Council. something that had not stirred in centuries. Interest. They ask for guidance, Belethar said slowly, and they show the qualities we value: resilience, creativity, and compassion. They are small, fragile, yet defiant. Perhaps they are worth observing. For hours the council debated. They had rules, traditions, and a strict code. Interference was forbidden except in rare circumstances. Yet here was a species that had survived far longer than any natural expectation, one that had created wonders despite its limitations. The humans' plea had reached the right eyes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, life continued even as people waited. Some dismissed the idea of a reply as fantasy. Others believed in it with all their hearts. Children played beneath the giant screens that displayed the stars, dreaming of aliens who might actually exist. Scientists ran simulations of possible responses, each more imaginative than the last, and Dr. Reyes never stopped watching, never stopped hoping. Weeks passed. Messages went unanswered. Doubts crept into human minds. Was it arrogance to think the universe would care? Were they too late, too weak, too insignificant? And then, as Earth's sun rose over the horizon, something extraordinary happened. A massive object appeared in orbit around Earth. It was unlike any spacecraft humanity had ever seen, titanic in scale, sleek, and impossibly advanced. The sky seemed to bend around it as it held position, casting shadows over cities and oceans. Every radar, telescope, and sensor in the world detected it instantly. Humanity froze, unsure if this was salvation or destruction. The first transmission from the alien vessel reached every communication channel simultaneously, clear, commanding, and without aggression. "Humans," the voice said, "we have heard your plea." Panic and awe swept through the planet. People ran into the streets looking up at the enormous ships. Governments scrambled, military forces prepared for battle, and scientists rushed to interpret the signals. Yet the voice continued, calm and authoritative. "We are the Zerithians," it said. "We are observers of the galaxy. Your species has captured our attention. You will not be harmed. You will be studied, guided, and tested. We will decide if you are worthy of survival in the wider galaxy." Humans gasped. Some cheered, some wept, and some simply stared in disbelief. The most feared species in the universe had answered, and they had chosen patience and observation over violence. Dr. Reyes felt a tremor in her chest. She whispered to herself, "They heard us. They actually heard us." Around her, colleagues shared the same disbelief, their eyes wide with awe and hope. Yet the Zerithians' message was clear. This was not charity. There would be challenges, trials, and scrutiny. Humanity would be tested not with force alone, but with the very qualities that defined them: ingenuity, courage, and compassion. They would have to prove that they were more than their flaws, more than their conflicts, more than their fears, and so, as the enormous shadow of the Zerithian ships hung over Earth, humanity took its first steps into a new chapter. They were no longer alone. The universe had listened, and the most feared species had responded. The silent cry of a fragile, struggling civilization had reached ears that could alter the course of history, and perhaps, if they proved themselves worthy, guide them toward greatness beyond imagination. Dr. Reyes looked at the sky one last time that night. Stars glittered above like distant promises. Humanity had sent a plea, and now the galaxy had answered. The challenge was immense, the stakes unimaginably high. But for the first time in centuries, hope burned brighter than fear. Humanity had reached out into the void, and the void had reached back. The world held its breath. For days, the enormous Zerithian ships remained in orbit, silent yet overwhelming, their sleek hulls reflecting the sun's light in dazzling patterns. People on Earth could see them without telescopes, giant monuments of a civilization humanity had only heard about in stories and legends. Governments convened emergency councils. Scientists studied every detail, and ordinary citizens stood in awe, watching as history unfolded before their eyes. Dr. Liana Reyes watched from the command center, heart pounding. The humans had sent their plea, and now the Zerithians were here, but the true nature of their arrival was still unknown. "Remember," she told her team, "they have unmatched power. One wrong move could be disastrous, but we must stay calm. We must show we are ready." The first few hours were tense. Military forces worldwide scrambled into defensive positions fearing the worst. Fighter jets streaked through the sky. Satellites were on alert, and surface-to-orbit communications buzzed with warnings. But nothing happened. The Zerithians made no aggressive move. Their presence alone was enough to stop any thought of attack. Then, without warning, a beam of soft blue light extended from one of the ships to Earth. It was not destructive. Instead, it hovered above the planet's surface like a bridge. The light spread slowly, illuminating cities, oceans, and forests. Panic turned into curiosity, and curiosity turned into awe. People watched, mouths open, as the unknown became almost tangible. A message followed the light, transmitted directly into every communication device on the planet. It was a single, clear statement from the Zerithians. Humans, we are here. We do not come to conquer. We come to observe. We will test your species. Your actions will determine your future. The words were calm, resonant, and filled with authority. They were also unexpected. Humans had feared invasion, enslavement, or destruction, but instead they received a message of judgment, tempered with opportunity. It was the first time many realized that being noticed by the galaxy's most feared species could be more challenging than facing outright enemies. Dr. Reyes turned to her assistant, a young woman named Kira. They want to observe, she said, trying to sound confident. We have to show them who we are, not just our technology, but who we are as humans. Across the planet, people reacted in countless ways. Some wept with relief, overwhelmed by the presence of beings they had never imagined might exist. Others screamed in fear, unable to process the scale and power of the ships. Children pointed at the sky, imagining giants of legend. Scientists and engineers hurried to understand the technology before them, recording every detail, every pattern, every nuance of the light and sound coming from the ships. For the Zerithians, this was the first close observation of humanity. They had studied countless species from afar, analyzing patterns of growth, behavior, and survival. Yet humans were unique. Their history was messy, full of contradictions. Great inventions paired with destructive wars, selfless acts paired with selfish ambitions. But that messiness carried a spark. It was unpredictable, creative, and alive. It was the kind of spark that fascinated the Zerithians. The first direct communication came through a holographic projection in the heart of the largest city. Towering over the skyline, the projection displayed the Zerithian leaders themselves. They were massive, powerful figures, standing with authority yet not aggression. Felithar, the council leader, spoke first. Humans of Earth. Felithar's voice echoed across the world. We have monitored your species. We have seen both your achievements and your failures. Yet something in your plea shows courage, creativity, and hope. These qualities are rare and valuable. Therefore, we will not destroy. We will observe. We will test. And perhaps, we will guide. The words caused a mixture of emotions worldwide. Governments debated how to respond, some advocating diplomacy, others preparing defenses. Citizens wondered if humanity had a chance to impress beings so powerful that a single Zerithian could devastate a city without effort. But amidst fear and doubt, there was also hope. A new, fragile hope that humans might finally have a place among the stars, not as conquered beings, but as equals in potential. The Zerithians did not arrive simply to watch. They brought tools, devices, and gifts of knowledge. Huge machines descended through the blue light, landing gently across major research centers and cities. These devices were not weapons, they were instruments of learning. Holographic libraries, energy analyzers, and communication nodes appeared, designed to interact with humans. Dr. Reyes and her team were the first to approach one of these devices. It was sleek, smooth, and nearly alive in appearance, with lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. When Reyes touched the surface, the device responded instantly, projecting a holographic interface filled with streams of information. Languages, technologies, star maps, and scientific formulas flowed freely, as if the Zerithians were offering humanity the opportunity to learn. But only if humans proved worthy of understanding. This is beyond anything we've imagined, Kira whispered, eyes wide. They're giving us tools, not weapons. They want to see what we can do with knowledge. Felithar observed quietly from afar. The Zerithians did not need to speak to understand human behavior. They could perceive intent, emotion, and reasoning at a level far beyond human comprehension. And yet, even for them, humans were unpredictable. They saw opportunities where none seemed to exist, solved problems in ways no logic would suggest, and displayed resilience that defied expectation. The first tests began subtly. The Zerithians placed complex challenges in human cities, engineering puzzles, energy management scenarios, and environmental crises. In one city, a simulation caused a miniature storm system to appear, threatening to flood districts. Humans had to quickly coordinate, using technology, planning, and sheer ingenuity to manage the disaster. In another, a structural challenge required humans to create new bridges and pathways within days, using both old methods and Zerithian devices. At first, there was chaos. Failures occurred, systems broke down, arguments erupted, but gradually humans adapted. Communities worked together, scientists shared knowledge freely, engineers improvised solutions that amazed even the Zerithians. And in every success, no matter how small, humanity demonstrated its defining quality, an ability to rise above limits, to learn and to overcome. As the days passed, the bond between humans and the Zerithians' guidance grew stronger. The alien observers began to show subtle gestures of approval, light patterns that mirrored human emotions, symbols that represented encouragement, and instructions that seemed tailored to human problem-solving rather than imposing rigid control. The Zerithians were not teaching in the traditional sense. They were observing, guiding, and challenging humanity to become more than it had ever been. Yet not all humans were comfortable. Some doubted the motives of these legendary beings. Were the Zerithians truly benevolent, or were these tests a prelude to judgment, a final assessment before annihilation? Rumors spread. Conspiracy theories flourished. Governments struggled to maintain calm, balancing transparency with security. Through it all, Dr. Reyes remained steadfast. She knew that fear was natural, but it could not drive decisions. We cannot control them, she told her team, but we can control ourselves. We must show who we are at our best. That is the only way forward. And so humanity began to change. Individuals and communities found strength they did not know they had. Scientists collaborated across borders. Cities coordinated emergency responses in record time. Engineers created solutions that blended Zerithian technology with human ingenuity. Humanity was learning, adapting, and proving its worth in ways the universe had rarely seen. Meanwhile, Velithar and the Zerithian Council watched carefully. Each success, each act of bravery or creativity was noted and analyzed. Humans were chaotic, emotional, and unpredictable, but that very unpredictability was a source of strength. It was a trait no other species possessed in the same way. The Zerithians had long believed that intelligence and power alone determined a species' value. But humanity's unique blend of courage, ingenuity, and compassion challenged that belief. By the end of the first month of the Zerithians' presence, Earth had settled into a new rhythm. Life had not returned to normal, but it had found balance in the extraordinary. Humans moved with purpose, aware that their every action mattered. The world was no longer just their home. It was a stage, and the galaxy's most feared species were watching. Dr. Reyes looked up at the night sky, where Zerithian ships glimmered like distant moons. They are here, she said softly, and they are watching. But maybe, just maybe, they can see the best of us. And somewhere among the towering figures of the Zerithian Council, Velithar observed humanity with growing interest. They are small, fragile, and reckless, he murmured, yet they shine in ways no other species has. Perhaps this species is more than it seems. The arrival of the Zerithians was not an invasion. It was an invitation, a challenge, and a test. Humanity had accepted it without knowing, and as the first human solution succeeded, the most feared species in the galaxy began to see what countless others had overlooked. Humans were remarkable, not because of strength alone, but because of the spirit that refused to be broken. Humanity had begun to realize that the Zerithians were not just observers, they were examiners. The challenges placed before them were more than technical puzzles. They were measures of creativity, collaboration, and courage. Every city, every laboratory, every mind on Earth felt the weight of scrutiny. Humanity had stepped into a new era, one in which survival would no longer depend solely on strength or resources, but on the qualities that made them uniquely human. Dr. Liana Reyes stood in the command center, overlooking a vast map of Earth. Points of light marked human teams responding to Zerithian challenges. Each test is different, she explained to her assistant Kira. Some are engineering, some are environmental, some test how we think, how we solve problems under pressure. We have to be ready for anything. The first major challenge emerged without warning. A simulation appeared in the skies above the Pacific Ocean. Massive waves threatened coastal cities, and human teams had to construct energy barriers, redirect water flow, and evacuate millions, all within hours. The Zerithians had not provided solutions. They were testing human leadership, coordination, and resilience. Initially, chaos ruled. Cities struggled with communication. Equipment failed. Fear rose among populations, but human determination was stronger. Governments coordinated with scientists, volunteers joined emergency response teams, and engineers improvised devices that could redirect water with unprecedented efficiency. Communities that had been isolated for decades now worked together, sharing knowledge, energy, and resources. Dr. Reyes monitored the progress. She could see innovation in real time. Drones carried water-absorbing barriers, artificial intelligence predicted wave patterns, and engineers used old shipping containers to form emergency flood walls. The humans were creating solutions that were both daring and practical, improvised brilliance that even the Zerithians could not have predicted. Velithar observed from the flagship hovering above Earth. The Zerithians rarely displayed emotion, but even they could not hide their fascination. Humans were reckless, impulsive, and sometimes chaotic, but they were creative in ways no other species had ever been. They took raw elements, limited tools, and uncertainty itself, and turned them into solutions. They act without fear of failure, Terex, a council member, noted. They combine courage with ingenuity. Their methods are unpredictable yet effective. Perhaps this is the trait that sets them apart. The second test was quieter but no less challenging. The Zerithians projected a complex energy network across Europe, simulating a continent-wide blackout with cascading failures. Human engineers were given no instructions beyond the visual data. Within hours, teams had coordinated to stabilize power grids, create temporary energy bridges, and repair critical systems. What impressed the Zerithians most was not the technology itself, but the humans' willingness to share knowledge freely. Competing companies and nations collaborated, sharing research data that had been kept secret for decades. Human leaders communicated openly, prioritizing survival and efficiency over personal or political gain. It was not perfection. It was a willingness to learn, adapt, and sacrifice for the greater good. As the days passed, the Zerithians introduced more tests, each more complex than the last. A simulated asteroid threatened to collide with Earth. Humanity had to devise a method to alter its course. A bioengineered virus threatened crops, and humans worked day and night to create a solution without the Zerithians intervening directly. In each case, humans rose to the occasion. Their solutions were never simple, but they were effective. Sometimes they failed first, only to try again with improved methods. Sometimes they disagreed, argued, and debated, but in the end, collaboration prevailed. The Zerithians watched in awe. They do not rely on strength alone, Velithar said. They rely on creativity, courage, and cooperation. Intelligence is not enough. Strength is not enough. Yet they survive. One particularly difficult test required humans to navigate an abandoned Zerithian research station in orbit. It was a labyrinth of advanced technology, unfamiliar systems, and traps designed to test problem-solving under pressure. Only teams that worked together, shared information, and thought beyond conventional logic could succeed. Dr. Reyes volunteered to lead one of the teams. Alongside Kira, engineers, and scientists, she studied the station carefully. At first, it seemed impossible. Doors that required simultaneous input from multiple people, energy grids that reacted unpredictably, and security systems that tested patience and intelligence. But humans persisted. They experimented, failed, and tried again. It was not brute force that allowed them to succeed. It was observation, creativity, and intuition. When one door refused to open, they discovered a hidden sequence by watching the patterns of light. When a security system threatened to trap them, they improvised a feedback loop using the station's energy. Slowly, methodically, they advanced, proving that human ingenuity could overcome even the most alien challenges. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity was learning more than just survival. They were learning to trust one another, to respect knowledge, and to understand the value of patience and planning. Communities rebuilt themselves in the wake of each challenge, becoming stronger, more united, and more resilient. The Xerithians began to see humans in a new light. They were not just chaotic, fragile beings. They were unpredictable, brilliant, and courageous. In every failure, humans found a lesson. In every crisis, they found opportunity. It was this ability to rise above limitations that fascinated the Council. There is potential here, Terex observed. Potential not measured in strength or speed, but in spirit. They may survive where others would fail. The final test of this phase arrived as a surprise. A rogue fleet of asteroids was projected to collide with Earth within hours, a scenario far more complex than anything before. Humans had limited resources, conflicting priorities, and immense pressure, yet they approached the problem with a combination of logic, improvisation, and courage. Engineers designed energy deflection shields. Scientists calculated gravitational adjustments. Volunteers constructed massive solar mirrors to redirect heat energy. And ordinary citizens participated in evacuation, communication, and logistics. Humanity, in its entirety, worked as a living, breathing organism, coordinating with precision despite fear and uncertainty. Velithar watched silently as humans carried out the final operation. Each success built upon previous lessons. Each failure was corrected with rapid adaptation. For the first time in millennia, the Xerithians acknowledged something they rarely admitted: admiration. They act as one, Velithar said softly, yet they think as many. Chaos and unity, strength and fragility, courage and compassion. They are a paradox. Yet that paradox is their power. By the end of the tests, humans had accomplished what seemed impossible. Earth was safe. Communities were stronger, not weaker. Knowledge had been shared and expanded. Humanity had demonstrated resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to rise above fear and uncertainty. Dr. Reyes and her team returned to the command center exhausted but elated. "We've done it," Kira said, her voice trembling. We've shown them what we can do." Dr. Reyes smiled, though her eyes reflected both pride and fatigue. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. We have proven our spirit. But the universe will continue to challenge us. We must remain ready, strong, creative, and united." Across orbit, the Xerithian Council convened. Velithar addressed his peers. "Humans are not perfect. They are flawed, emotional, and unpredictable, yet they possess qualities that few species achieve: creativity, courage, and compassion. They rise above weakness through spirit. They are worthy of further observation and perhaps guidance." Terex nodded. "They are remarkable, not because of power but because of their ability to overcome, adapt, and unite. This is the mark of a species capable of greatness." For the first time, the Xerithians considered humans not just as a fragile species, but as a force to be reckoned with, a species capable of growth, achievement, and eventually influence in the galaxy. Back on Earth, the people celebrated their achievements quietly. Unlike traditional victories, this was not a conquest or a battle won. It was a triumph of spirit. Humanity had survived immense tests, adapted to impossible challenges, and demonstrated that they were more than their flaws. Dr. Reyes stood beneath the night sky, looking at the faint glimmer of Xerithian ships above. "They are watching us," she whispered, "and they see what we can do now. We must be ready for whatever comes next." The world had changed. Humanity had been tested and had risen. The Xerithians had seen the spark within humans, a spark that no weapon, no storm, no challenge could extinguish. It was a spark of ingenuity, courage, and hope, and the galaxy had taken notice. Humanity had proven itself in countless tests, yet nothing could prepare them for the challenge that was about to arrive. One quiet evening, as Dr. Liana Reyes monitored the skies from the orbital command center, a new alert flashed across her console. An enormous object was approaching the solar system at unimaginable speed. Calculations revealed a terrifying truth. It was not a natural phenomenon. This was an attack, a rogue fleet of starships, unknown and hostile, consuming everything in its path. Entire star systems had already vanished. Panic swept across Earth. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists scrambled for solutions, and ordinary citizens looked to the stars with fear. Humanity was facing a threat far beyond anything in its history. And yet the Xerithians did not respond with weapons or demands, they responded with presence. Their ships descended closer, forming a protective halo around the planet, silent but unmistakably ready to defend. Dr. Reyes gathered her team in the command center. "This is unlike the tests before," she said, voice tight with urgency. "This is real. Lives are at stake, not simulations. We have the knowledge, the ingenuity, and now, the Zerithians are here to help. But we must work together. This will test everything we've learned, and more." The Zerithians initiated direct communication for the first time since their arrival. Velithar's voice resonated across Earth, calm yet commanding. "Humans, the threat approaching is a predator of worlds. Alone, you cannot stop it. Together we may succeed. We will provide technology, strategy, and guidance. You must provide courage, creativity, and adaptation. This is your chance to prove your worth on the galaxy's true stage." The challenge was immense. The rogue fleet moved with precision, destroying planets and stars with terrifying efficiency. Humanity and the Zerithians had only hours to prepare defenses, coordinate fleets, and develop strategies that could halt the attackers before they reached Earth. Dr. Reyes worked around the clock with scientists, engineers, and military leaders. Earth's combined fleets were augmented with Zerithian technology, energy shields capable of deflecting massive attacks, faster-than-light communication devices, and starship designs that balanced human creativity with alien engineering. The task was overwhelming, but the humans approached it with determination. At first, setbacks were inevitable. Simulations failed, shield generators overloaded, and attacks threatened to break human defenses. Yet humanity adapted with remarkable speed. Engineers devised new energy flow systems, scientists recalculated trajectories in real time, and pilots developed maneuvers that were unconventional but highly effective. Every failure taught a lesson. Every small victory built confidence. The Zerithians observed, impressed by the humans' ability to act decisively under pressure. Unlike any other species they had encountered, humans were not deterred by fear. They confronted danger head-on, combining instinct with innovation. Velithar's council noted the subtle shifts in strategy, the boldness of improvisation, and the unyielding determination to protect not just themselves but the entire planet. "Observe how they think," Tarek said. "They combine imagination with reason. They anticipate unpredictability. This is unlike any species we have guided before. Perhaps this is why they survived so far against the odds." As the rogue fleet neared, Earth's skies filled with ships, human and Zerithian, coordinating in a dazzling display of strategy. Light and energy streaked across the void as weapons fired, shields glowed, and fleets maneuvered with precision. Humanity had learned from every challenge the Zerithians had given, and now, under true threat, they applied that knowledge on a massive scale. The battle was relentless. Rogue ships advanced in patterns designed to overwhelm, but humans responded with ingenuity. Starship pilots, engineers, and scientists worked in perfect harmony, creating strategies that no attacker could anticipate. When one fleet was cornered, human leaders devised a feint, drawing enemies into a trap where combined human and Zerithian firepower could neutralize the threat. On Earth, civilians contributed in unprecedented ways. Volunteers maintained communications, repaired damaged systems, and supported logistical efforts. Humanity was no longer passive. Every person became part of the effort, proving that courage and unity were as important as technology. Dr. Reyes and Kira worked together in the orbital command center, coordinating strikes and defenses. "We can't just match their power," Dr. Reyes said, eyes fixed on the holographic display. "We have to outthink them, anticipate their moves, and use every resource creatively. That's what humans do best, and that is exactly what they did." Humans used unconventional strategies, decoys, rapid energy redirects, and adaptive formations that confounded the attackers. Their unpredictability, which might have been a flaw in other situations, became their greatest weapon. The Zerithians watched closely, their admiration growing. The turning point came when a massive rogue ship, the size of a small moon, approached Earth's orbit. It was too powerful to destroy conventionally. Human engineers proposed a daring solution. Using the planet's magnetic field, combined with Zerithian energy technology, to create a temporary gravitational distortion that could divert the ship's trajectory. Velithar initially questioned the plan. "Risk is immense. Failure could destroy the planet," he warned. Dr. Reyes's response was firm. "We have no choice. We must act." We have the knowledge, we have the courage, and we have the will. The operation began. Teams coordinated with extraordinary precision. Energy streams flowed through the generators, magnetic fields shifted, and the rogue ship entered the distortion zone. For a tense moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, the massive ship veered off course. Its path diverted safely away from Earth. The humans had succeeded, not because of strength, but because of ingenuity, courage, and teamwork. The Zerithians observed in silence, a rare acknowledgement of approval passing through their ranks. They have done what many would consider impossible, Terex remarked. Not through power, but through spirit. This is why they are remarkable. Humanity had survived the attack, but the experience left a lasting impact. Cities rebuilt quickly, knowledge was shared globally, and communities strengthened their bonds. People understood more than ever the value of collaboration, courage, and creative thinking. The planet had faced annihilation and emerged stronger than before. In the aftermath, Velithar addressed humanity directly through a global broadcast. His voice resonated with authority and respect. Humans, you have faced true danger and have risen. Your courage, creativity, and unity have preserved your world. You have proven that you are not only survivors, but a species capable of greatness. We will continue to observe and guide, but today, you have shown the galaxy your worth. Dr. Reyes watched the broadcast with Kira. This is more than survival, she said softly. This is recognition. From beings far greater than ourselves, we've earned their respect. The bond between humans and the Zerithians deepened. No longer were the Zerithians merely observers. They became partners in a shared purpose. Humanity had shown its value, not through fear, force, or technology alone, but through the qualities that defined them: courage, ingenuity, and compassion. In the skies, the Zerithian ships remained, no longer distant and imposing, but symbols of partnership. They shared knowledge, offered guidance, and allowed humans to participate in strategies that affected the broader galaxy. Humanity was learning at an accelerated pace, understanding alien technologies and strategies that had been reserved for millennia. Dr. Reyes felt a renewed sense of hope. We are no longer just survivors, she said. We are participants in the galaxy, capable of shaping our destiny alongside the greatest beings we've ever known. The people of Earth, inspired by the events, began to look beyond their planet with ambition and optimism. Space programs expanded, educational initiatives flourished, and collaboration became the new standard. Humanity had faced annihilation and, through spirit and determination, had not only survived but grown stronger. Velithar, observing from his flagship, reflected on the humans' journey. They are fragile, yes, emotional, unpredictable, and reckless, yet they possess qualities that cannot be measured by strength or intelligence alone. They rise above weakness through courage, ingenuity, and unity. Perhaps this species is destined for more than mere survival. As the stars shone above, humans celebrated not just the victory over the rogue fleet, but the realization that they could stand alongside one of the galaxy's most feared species. The bond forged in battle would shape the future, one of cooperation, growth, and the endless pursuit of greatness. Humanity had learned that true strength lay not in domination, but in spirit. And the Zerithians had learned that sometimes, the most unpredictable and fragile beings could possess a brilliance unmatched in the galaxy. Together they had faced danger, and together they had prevailed. For the first time in history, humans truly understood what it meant to rise above their limits, and to be seen as more than mere survivors. They were proving themselves worthy of the stars. The skies above Earth were filled with the faint glow of Zerithian ships, now no longer a source of fear but a symbol of possibility. Humanity had faced tests, survived attacks, and proven itself in ways few species ever could. Yet this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, opportunities, and challenges, and Earth had finally earned its place among those who could reach for the stars. Dr. Liana Reyes stood on the observation deck of the Orbital Command Center, looking at the shimmering expanse of ships above. She could see humans moving across the surface below, rebuilding cities, repairing infrastructure, and sharing knowledge. A quiet pride filled her chest. Humanity had been given a rare opportunity, and they had not squandered it. Velithar, leader of the Zerithian Council, appeared in a projection before her. His massive form filled the deck, his eyes deep pools of intelligence and judgment. "Humans," he said, voice calm and resonant, "you have proven your worth. You have shown courage when faced with danger, ingenuity when faced with impossibility, and unity when faced with chaos. These qualities are rare among species in the galaxy." Dr. Reyes bowed her head slightly. "We are honored," she said. "We have learned much from your guidance and observation. We will continue to grow, to improve, and to reach beyond what we know." Belithar's expression softened, a rare gesture for the Zarithians. "Your species has potential. Potential not only to survive, but to influence, inspire, and expand. We will continue to share knowledge, but the path ahead is yours to shape. The universe will test you further, but you have shown that you are capable of rising above any challenge." Across Earth, celebrations were quiet but meaningful. Unlike traditional victories, this was not the triumph of conquest, but the triumph of spirit. Humanity had survived near destruction, faced the most feared species in the galaxy, and earned their respect. Communities strengthened bonds, nations collaborated, and young people looked to the stars with renewed hope. Dr. Reyes walked through a city recently rebuilt after the rogue fleet attack. Children played in streets where rubble had once been. Scientists discussed new projects openly, and engineers refined devices that had been inspired by Zarithian technology. It was a world transformed, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Humanity had learned the power of unity, creativity, and perseverance. Kira, her assistant, joined her. "We've come a long way," Kira said, smiling. "I never thought we'd reach this point. To be recognized by beings like them." Dr. Reyes nodded. "Recognition is just the beginning. We must continue to grow, continue to learn, and continue to show that we are worthy of the galaxy's trust. This is our chance to shape the future, not just for Earth, but for humanity." Meanwhile, Belithar convened the Zarithian Council. "Humans are no longer a species to be observed solely for curiosity," he said. "They are capable, courageous, and innovative. They have demonstrated qualities that few civilizations achieve. Their spirit is unmatched by any we have encountered. They are worthy of guidance and partnership." Another council member, Terex, added, "They have not relied solely on technology, strength, or numbers. They relied on creativity, courage, and cooperation. This is what makes them remarkable. They are unpredictable yet effective. They inspire respect, even in the galaxy's most seasoned observers." Humanity's recognition was not symbolic alone. The Zarithians began sharing more advanced knowledge, technologies, and strategies. Humans learned to harness energy in ways previously unimaginable, explore the stars faster, and understand the principles of interstellar navigation and diplomacy. This was a gift of trust and acknowledgement, a bridge connecting fragile humanity with one of the galaxy's most formidable civilizations. Earth itself began to transform. Cities became more efficient, powered by sustainable energy derived from new methods inspired by Zarithian technology. Communication and transportation networks expanded. Science and education flourished as knowledge flowed freely. Humanity had proven itself worthy of opportunity, and it seized that chance to advance and prepare for the challenges of a galaxy far larger and more complex than they had ever imagined. Dr. Reyes often reflected on the journey humanity had taken. She remembered the first transmission, the desperate plea sent into the void hoping for help. She thought of the tests, the chaos, the ingenuity, and the courage displayed in the face of impossible odds. Humanity had been tested not just for survival, but for the qualities that defined them. And they had passed. In quiet moments, she would watch the stars, imagining the countless civilizations in the galaxy. Some were peaceful, some hostile, some ancient beyond comprehension. Yet humanity had earned a place among them not by conquest but by spirit. Courage, creativity, and compassion had proven more powerful than fear or aggression. Across the globe, humanity began to reach for the stars in new ways. Space exploration programs expanded beyond the solar system. Young people dreamed not only of walking on planets or floating in space, but of discovering new civilizations, forming alliances, and shaping the galaxy's future. The lessons learned under the Zarithians' observation became the foundation for a new era of collaboration, curiosity, and growth. The bond between humans and Zarithians deepened. Missions were launched together, combining human creativity with Zarithian technology and strategy. New discoveries were made about energy manipulation, interstellar communication, and advanced engineering. Humanity was learning at a pace previously thought impossible, and the Zerithians, in turn, were fascinated by the unpredictability, intuition, and emotional depth that humans brought to problem-solving. One day, as Dr. Reyes coordinated a joint mission with Zerithian scientists, Velithar addressed her directly. "Humans, your species has shown that true strength lies not in power alone but in spirit. Courage, creativity, and compassion have carried you further than technology or force could. The galaxy will remember this. Your place among the stars is assured, but it will be your choices that define your future." Dr. Reyes felt a warmth of pride and responsibility. "We will not forget," she replied. "We will continue to rise, to learn and to prove that humanity is capable of greatness." In the months that followed, humanity's presence in the galaxy became stronger. New colonies were established on nearby planets. Communication networks connected human worlds in ways that made Earth's distance feel smaller. Education and knowledge sharing flourished, guided by the lessons learned during the Zerithians' tests. Humanity had become not just a survivor species but a growing and respected force. The rogue fleet had been a warning, but also an opportunity. Humanity had faced annihilation and had succeeded, demonstrating qualities that no weapon, no force, and no simulation could test fully. The Zerithians, who had once been feared as untouchable observers, became partners, allies, and teachers. Humans had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, creativity was not simply invention, and compassion was not weakness. These were the true marks of a species capable of greatness. Dr. Reyes stood at the edge of a new colony on a distant planet, looking at the horizon where alien suns rose. Kira joined her, carrying a device that displayed information about the surrounding environment and potential resources. "It's beautiful," Kira said, gazing at the alien landscape. "I never imagined we'd be here." "Like this," Dr. Reyes smiled. "We've come far, Kira, but this is just the beginning. Humanity will continue to grow, explore, and prove itself. We've been given a gift, the chance to shape our destiny in ways that were impossible before, and we will not waste it." Back on Earth, celebrations marked not just survival but achievement. Humanity had risen above fear, chaos, and the unknown. They had faced a species long thought invincible and proven that the qualities that defined them, courage, ingenuity, and compassion, were enough to earn respect. The silent cry sent into the galaxy had been heard, and it had changed the course of history. Velithar watched from his flagship, hovering above the blue planet. "They have grown," he said to the council. "They are still imperfect, still unpredictable, but they are remarkable. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated what humans are capable of. We will continue to observe, guide, and occasionally test, but they have earned their place." Terex nodded. "They are more than survivors. They are creators, problem solvers, and dreamers, and they are capable of shaping the galaxy in ways we could never have predicted." As the stars stretched infinitely beyond, humans looked upward with hope, determination, and wonder. They were no longer alone, no longer passive participants in the universe. They had allies in the galaxy's most formidable beings. They had proven their spirit, and they had glimpsed the potential of what humanity could achieve. Earth had survived. Humanity had grown, and the galaxy had taken notice. A new dawn had arrived, not just for a single planet but for a species ready to rise above limits, overcome fear, and leave a mark on the stars. Humanity had been tested, they had endured, and now they were ready for the adventures, challenges, and wonders that lay ahead. The plea that had once echoed silently across the void had been answered. The most feared species had responded, and in that response, humanity had discovered not only hope, but its true potential. Humanity had become a force the galaxy could respect, a SP spirit to rise above all odds.